I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Joel Sates. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. That's my buddy Alan Gallant. We're here to review the movie Violent Night, which came out in 2022, directed by Tommy Warkola.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. Written by Pat Casey and Josh Miller. Produced by Kelly McCormick, David Letish, Guy Daniela, starring David Harbour, John Leguizamo, Alex Hassel, Alexis Louder, Beverly D'Angelo, who does play the mother in this.
That's right.
Cinematographer was Matthew Weston, edited by Jim Page. Music was by Dominic Lewis. Production company was 87 North Productions. Distributed by Warner Brothers, Universal Pictures. This was released release dates actually, October 7th, 2022, New York, NYCC. December 2nd, 2022, United States. Running time,
2022?
Yeah, 2022. Budget was 20 million. Ready for the box office. $76.6 million.
You feel like to see the Santa Claus kick some butt.
That's right. They took some scenes from Die Hard from this movie.
They took a lot from Die Hard. I think very lovingly.
Mm-hmm. So when did you guys first see this movie? I know when I first saw it.
I thought I saw it last year around Christmas because that's when I thought it came out. But somehow I was off by a year. I don't quite know or understand how or why.
Well, it could have been because this had two release dates. Some movies do have different release dates, like two release dates. This had two release dates.
Did it get a re-release last year?
No, but it probably got a DVD release last year.
No, I saw it in the theaters.
Okay, release date. Well, its two release dates were October 7th, 2022, and December 2nd, 2022.
Yeah, that's not a year.
Well,
that's a. I just misremember.
Right, but it did have two release dates, so that
it did have two release. We were all in agreement.
So, what? So you saw this movie last year? You said
I thought I did, but I guess I saw it. I saw it the December it came out. I saw it a few days after Christmas.
Cool. Alan, when did you first see this movie?
About 4 hours ago.
Yeah,
I finished it up.
Yeah, I saw this movie before my kids came home, so I saw it about 12 o'clock. Bought it on Amazon Prime. Good movie. Really entertaining, really fast. John Leguizamo is a really good heel. Good actor.
He's terrific.
Yeah.
He's also hilarious if you really listen to the stuff he's saying.
Yeah. This is not his first heel performance. He actually played the heel in the movie Spawn. He played the clown.
Mm-hmm. He did. He also played the villain for the entire audience in the movie The Pest.
Yes.
Bad movie.
I like Leguizamo though. He can be on your side, or he can just irritate the heck out of you. He knows how to do that. He knows how to turn those knobs.
Well, he's a marvelous playwright and monologuist, and so you follow from that to this. He understands.
He understands character
dimensionality.
Yeah, character, circumstance, all of that stuff.
I have a side note by the end of this. I'll have to get to it when we're at the end of this movie because it's about something I'm discussing tomorrow night.
What are you discussing tomorrow night, Jewel?
The Friday the 13th remake with Butch Rosenbaum. So
Butch was never in a Friday the 13th remake.
No, but he is discussing that movie.
We're discussing the remake tomorrow night. It's about
what time?
It's 9:30.
9:30, huh?
9:30. David Harbour actually wants to play
Jason.
Yes, wants to play Jason Voorhees. Actually, that he at least said he's interested.
Who wants to? Did you say Paul Williams?
No, David Harbour, the guy who played Santa Claus in this movie.
Oh, he wants to play Jason Voorhees.
Jason, yeah. That was my dryer. Anyway,
Oh,
so here's my first question to you guys. What did you guys think of not just the Christmas setting, obviously, we know that, but what did you guys think of the setting of Connecticut here?
The Middle Sea is silent.
it is. It's not connected.
I mean, it is where wealthy tax evaders from Boston and New York
It
go to
is.
live.
This mansion is probably in Darien or one of the high wealth towns, New Canaan, some places like that, and maybe in the fancier section of Glastonbury, or someplace.
New Sodom.
Yeah, New Sodom. It's good. It's a good location. It's an upper class, financially place to be. That southern part of Connecticut. That's you can get on one of the lines and take the train to the city, New York,
where Rob Petrie lived.
Yes. The thing that I thought most about this movie is you mentioned it takes place in Connecticut, nice little town in Connecticut somewhere a little out of the way, and it's like a Hallmark movie. This movie was written as a Hallmark movie, and then they put gore, comedy, and a kick in the nuts in it. Violence,
genuine torture. I mean, you
Yeah,
don't see main characters tortured to the degree that guy is tortured.
But the context of the violence is, sometimes it's like, oh, gee, and other times it's hilarious because of the way that it's structured. And it is structured around a Hallmark Christmas movie. It really is, in a bizarre kind of way. And obviously it's turned and twisted, and things are happening, but that you have the family, you have the little girl who's Christmas wish, and you got the couple that get back together again in the last 20 minutes of the movie, because that's exactly how the formula of a Hallmark movie goes at Christmas time.
Though this is fictionally set in Canada, in Connecticut, this is filmed in Winnipeg, Canada, if you can hear me. This was filmed in Winnipeg, Canada.
Yes.
So it's fictionally set in Connecticut.
Yes.
Nice house, nice location, some snow, a lot of family dysfunction in this, which that was in Die Hard too. But here you have the son who actually steals the money before the thieves. I found that one of the most interesting plot twists in this movie.
That's a little of Knives Out thrown in.
Yeah.
That's a little of that thrown in too. So yeah.
Which was really, really interesting that they pulled that off here. Because again, that's something I wasn't expecting. I was expecting some nods to Die Hard, which there are. They take some things from Die Hard here. One of the things they take is from Die Hard 2, where you see the soldiers betray the people they're working for. That's taken from the one of the Die Hard sequels, being Part 2. So there's that. Beverly D'Angelo was funny. She's hilarious.
So vulgar. And she's vulgar in some new ways. There were some new ones I hadn't heard.
She's kind of almost unrecognizable in this.
I didn't know until the closing credits.
Yeah, she's very different looking, and her, some of the affect that you go back and you say, oh yeah, that's Beverly. I can see a little of that here and there, but a lot of it is not what you expect or what you've seen of her in the past, I guess is the best way to put it. Which is great.
I haven't seen her in anything since Christmas Vacation. I know she's done stuff, but
I haven't seen her. I mean, she's done a lot of that sort of typical stuff, so this is kind of a departure that lets you know that she's an actress. It really does.
What did you guys think of David Harbour here? He's a very good actor.
Yeah, I like him almost in anything. I really do.
I think this was the first thing I've seen him in. Whatever the TV thing that he's known for. What is it?
Stranger Things.
Right.
I haven't seen. So
I've seen that.
He sort of strikes. Who's it? Nick Offerman? Is that the guy who was on Parks and Rec?
Yes.
He struck me as the poor man's Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
But But
He's
the poor man
actually
already
the
has
rich
Nick
man's
Offerman.
Nick Offerman because he's actually done a lot of high profile stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, he's like that. He's that kind of guy. He's that everyman, big kind of everyman kind of guy.
If I were only taller.
Yeah, but he's played villains too. He was in the first, I think he's in the first Equalizer movie. Plays a crooked cop in that. He was in that terrible version of Hellboy, but I liked him.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah,
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he played Hellboy in that.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about his portrayal of Santa is that he is a guy who has, for whatever reason, through whatever ability, had the wisdom to keep himself contemporary with his language.
Yes.
Especially.
Well, that would make sense because he would have been exposed over the centuries to, a progression of things and probably
but he didn't get stuck.
No, he didn't get stuck. He adapted. Yeah.
And that is something, it may be accidental or it may not be, that I think is it shows up in his character. That he has I hate to say it, he has a growth mindset in terms of dealing with this problem.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a character choice or a directorial choice based on the fact that you got to know what kind of things kids like with every generation. You have to keep up with their taste in music and their taste in toys and their taste in all this stuff.
And their way of speaking.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing that I'm trying to think, Harbour was also in Black Widow. He played the red, whatever he is, the Russian.
Oh, I liked that movie.
Yeah, he was very good in that as well. And he lampooned the fact that he has this dad bod too in that whole thing. Like, I still fit into uniform. It's like he's.
I thought it was good. I was confused by the movie. I thought it was going to be about Coretta Scott King, and it wasn't. The title was very misleading.
No, it wasn't. But that was actually.
Don't cast Scarlett Johansson as anything.
They will. That's right. She would have been immediately
derailed it with that one.
I'm afraid. But anyway, so Harbour's done a lot of stuff, and he's reached the point at which he's now being paid millions of dollars to do movies rather than hundreds.
That's good. That's good. It was a very original, entertaining performance.
Yeah.
And it both kept me guessing, and when we get the reveal about his character,
that he's a berserker from the.
I was able to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a berserker from the 10th century. It's
the scene where he's sewing himself up was not only gritty, but it did a lot to kind of tell you about who this guy was.
And at that. And at the same time, it's giving a wink and a nod and a little humorous thing because he's using all of these Christmas items to
tinsel stuff and
up. And he's going after the villainous with garland. He's going to garrote her with a piece of garland.
The tools he uses, tools he has.
Yeah, that's true. But I also like the idea of the magic that even he doesn't understand because we never learn how he got the job, but he obviously got the job. It's like, oh, you terrible person. We're going to make you a good person. Here you go.
Well, that was being held for the sequel.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But this whole thing where he's just soft-hearted for this kid. And yet he's got this damn sledgehammer and he's just going hell and high water with it.
Yeah.
But he's vulnerable, like you said. He plays the levels of his character. He's vulnerable. He's in pain. He's clumsy at times. He's failing and he knows it. All of this stuff. He's afraid at first until he kind of gets back in touch with his berserker self. A little bit, and it's kind of a gradual thing.
And considering that's been, 1,000 years or more?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since he's done it, and he's so rusty with it. It's like because he even says, "I don't really interfere with people's lives."
Right. He's kind of stayed away from that probably because of that.
Well, and that gets into an interesting Santa thing, where sometimes the icons who get associated with these holidays have nothing to do with the holidays. I mean, like, when Jesus is on the cross, he doesn't say, "Boy, I hope a rabbit shows up with some eggs."
Right.
That's not. There aren't multicolored eggs found in the cave.
Well, the thing is, it's Christmas is really was inspired by so many pagan elements. The Tannenbaum tree. You notice, of course, when he takes his shirt off, he's loaded, covered with pagan tattoos.
Yeah,
covered with Celtic stuff, Viking stuff, all this.
Which makes me wonder if he's pre-Christian.
Oh, I think
he is.
He may well be.
He
may have been the Eternal Warrior before he became the Eternal Claus.
Yeah, I was Father Christmas for a number of years because I got into the Santa world.
Mm-hmm.
I actually sort of served in the last gasps of the Santa Wars.
Oh no!
If you've heard of the Santa Wars, I served in it. I served in sort of the Korea of the Santa Wars. And I was Father Christmas, which in the world of Santa is a very specific figure. That's Santa's father.
That's correct.
He's English, and he has a horse, an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir, and he's based on Odin. But the Santa Claus figure started out, and this gets into Satan, and it gets into Robin Hood and Puck, of all people. Started out as the high priest, who was a hell of a guy because it was all about fertility. Mm-hmm. So he's about fighting and screwing around.
Yes.
And feasting
and drinking.
And drinking. He's this Brian Blessed figure. He's like Voltan the Hawkman.
Yeah, it's a variant on the Dionysian.
Yeah. And so when the Romans came to England, they said, "Okay, now your religion's going to be ours." And they were like, "Okay, as long as you don't kill us, that's fine." and so they went away. They said, "Hey, your high priest, he's now our priest. He's just go with it." And so they came back, like a century later, and they found that during the Saturnalia, which they were calling Christmas,
mm-hmm.
he was out, having fertility rites around this tree with fires brought back to it to bring the sun back.
Right.
And they said, "No, you can't do that." and the Pope went into seclusion and talked to God, got God on the red phone, and came back and said, "Hey, guess what? Satan looks like you. You're accidentally Satan." So because he would have red, like fox pants,
mm-hmm.
not the pants of actor Red Fox, but fox fur pants that were red. He would often have animal hooves on his boots. He would have antlers as part of his crown, and so red suit, horns, animal hooves. Because nowhere in the Bible is Satan described that way.
No, but that was a contemporary.
That was the Romans saying, "Hey, you got to knock it off." And so this slowly turned into the Santa figure. But along the way, who do you get? You get this guy in green because his robe was green. This guy in green living in the woods, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor.
Right.
Robin Hood.
Yes.
And then this satanic figure lives in the woods who can travel very quickly. Robin Goodfellow, Puck, in Midsummer Night's Dream. So this is this weird ancient figure who doesn't necessarily, he has a lot to do with charity. He doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with forgiveness.
No.
And in Europe, it's much less screwed up because he's got Krampus, who takes care of the bad kids.
Right.
Yeah. In America, we have a very, it's like dealing with abusive fathers. We have this very weird view of Santa because he'll also punish you.
Yeah. By putting coal in your stocking.
That's right. He's watching you. He's going to punish you.
Putting a sledgehammer up your anus, as in this movie.
That's right. That's right. So it's, and this movie is the first film I know of to begin to explore that dimension of Santa.
The shadow side of the character. Yeah.
Yeah. And deal with it. It's like he's this big pissed off Viking.
Yeah, it's like, this is part of who I am.
Yeah.
I'm this person. So
Rather than St. Nicholas of Myra, who's running around rooftops throwing money into chimneys.
Right.
It's a. They don't completely get into a backstory here for him. They drop, they show you little hints.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, which I like. I mean, hey, if you got enough material for another one of these, go for it.
I like the idea that he was a Viking, though. That's pretty cool. That's absolutely cool. Or at least at one point he was.
Yeah, he
once a Viking, always a Viking.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, he says his wish. He was asked what his wish was. He said, "I wish I could see Mrs. Claus again, tell her how much I love her."
Mm-hmm.
And so that lets you know, hey, the guy does give a shit, about a.
Well, he's 1,100 years atoning for his earlier life, I think, is what he's done, and it's changed him into a more benevolent figure. But that doesn't mean. I think the lesson here is you can't be a good person unless there's a potential to be a bad person.
Well, and that standing up for good,
right,
often requires you to be not Christ-like.
Right.
That the Christ figure is very lucky to have this other figure around, because Santa needs a Krampus.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Krampus? You seen the Krampus movie?
I have not. I know the legend, but I have not seen the movie.
I haven't either. I've always been curious about it.
Good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Yeah. I knew someone who had Krampus about once a month.
Oh my God.
I know. Works every time.
What did you guys think of the dysfunctional rich family here?
They were typically horrible. I mean, they were believably horrible.
Yeah. You're not to feel sorry for them until there's a turn for some of them, but you're not to feel sorry for them. As I mentioned before, the Knives Out sort of syndrome of the bad family that's all looking for the money and grasping and spoiled and.
Well, it's the post-silent generation American.
Yeah.
It's America talking about the fact that they are contending with the generation that inherited, rather than created. And then you've got the third generation represented by somebody like Ransom, ostensibly in that movie, or authentically in The Son here, where it's interesting because the only way to deal with the guilt of money is just to walk away from it. Mm-hmm. And that's not it either. I think we're going to get a fourth generation that's going to be all about how do we use this wisely.
Right.
I hope we make it to a fourth generation.
Right now we have the problem of that most of 60% of wealth in this country is generationally inherited, which means there was no industry involved in it, and a different idea of what the responsibility of that money is.
Yeah. Or if you're a parent, you can teach your kids about money and the value of a dollar.
It's tough. You're dealing with a very loud, afraid chimp in a cave, mm-hmm. that under times of fear and stress will react differently. And that's what I was talking about with someone earlier tonight, is that you're not dealing with a real rational way of thinking. Right. You have to address people like that. You have to somehow reach the fear and address the fear, because mismanaging money is a matter of fear.
Right.
And so that's as much as the rich dad poor dad school of teaching kids about money. Because here's the thing about money, it's like losing weight. Everybody knows kind of how to make money, and that's at a basic level. Don't spend it.
All right.
Yeah. And it will accrue. And certainly don't spend it frivolously. and the like getting fat. Well, don't eat so much.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to eat that much. Either burn more calories than you consume, or consume fewer calories than you burn, and you'll lose weight.
Yeah.
And so again, you're looking at fear. I'm a walking case of it. So and I understand that.
It's almost a different level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have to address these issues before you can move on.
That's right.
To another.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, higher level. Yeah.
Mm.
And this family's definitely afraid. They're terrified of each other, of money, of everything.
The son is about the only not afraid character there is, and yet there's a whiff of naivete to him. We don't know a lot about his jobs or about how he's going to maintain himself. Sometimes I get the idea he works for the family. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah, and you sometimes get the idea that he's the whipping post, and that he can be cowardly when he's a flawed guy.
And in some ways, giving away the money is a cowardly act.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to deal with it. I'm burning.
So I'm just going to walk away. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he steals the money initially. He takes it, and he doesn't. I like Joan, like was on his line. How did you know we were coming? I didn't. I just took the money before.
I was going to do it. Yeah. It just happened.
But the money itself are ill-gotten gains. Stuff given by the government to accomplish a kind of
$300 million stolen from the government, basically. Yeah.
So it's not like this is what your granddad made with his own two hands.
No.
Digging clams out of the sea. No.
That money's been diversified into the Caymans and elsewhere.
Yep.
The original wealth of the family.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the money was left with the three wise men? What did you guys think?
Yes.
Speaking of, there's great choreography in here with these fight sequences. They do a really good job.
This filmmaker makes very weird movies. His other major movie is a favorite of mine, but it's a favorite of mine because it's got a bunch of bizarre elements that come together if you like that kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
but do not come together in a traditional sense and would flunk any screenwriting class. And
I was going to describe him as back of the classroom. I was really going to describe him as that, because that's where the daydreams happen. That's when the rules get broken. That's all of that.
That's right.
Happens back there.
So his other major movie, and Joel, I don't know if we've discussed this or not. If we haven't, I would love to, but it's Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, which I think is a movie that got terrible reviews, and I saw it. It was the only good movie I saw that year. I loved it. It was the only movie I didn't sleep through that year because it didn't give me a reason to. It's a very strange, modern voiced. I mean, it is modern voiced telling of an older story. It's the proper side of presentism.
Mm.
Actually, it's acknowledging, hey, this is us now,
right,
telling this story from back then, but it acknowledges it. It's not presentism in the name of judging something,
right,
just in presenting something, and it's dizzyingly inventive. And a lot of fun, and it gives you everything that an R-rated movie is supposed to. And he's good at that. He remembers what an R-rated movie is,
right?
And he serves it up. I mean, this movie, I just rewatched it a few weeks ago, and I was really amazed at how much violence there was in it. It lives up to its title. I mean, it is a brutal, bloody, uncompromising movie, and he has no charity. This is where I got into the Santa, Jesus thing. He has no charity towards these people,
right?
It's like you made one bad mistake, which is being a part of this, and now you have forfeited your life.
Right.
Because you were going to forfeit theirs.
Right.
Yeah, it's the one with the guy from the Avengers movies, right? It's the one you're talking about.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner.
Yeah,
he was very good.
Yeah.
He's very good in the movie. Yeah.
I've seen it. It's really good.
What did you think?
It's really good, and it adds a very... Like, as somebody who grew up on the Hansel and Gretel story, and all the bedtime stories you hear about the big bad wolf and all that other stuff. Very, very good, because that's not something how I ever imagined I'd ever see a Hansel and Gretel story told.
Yeah.
But I was
And
impressed with how he told it.
it deals with diabetes, from all the candy that he had to eat.
Yeah.
Alan, have you ever seen it?
No.
Interesting film.
Yeah.
I think you would really like it. It's a very, very, very bright movie that only doesn't work if you bring preconceptions to it.
Right.
Have you seen the Red Riding Hood movies that they did? Like it was like
I have not.
It's great. It's not as good as the Hansel and Gretel movie, but it's okay. It's okay.
It was certainly better than either of those postmodern Snow White movies that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Snow White.
I think it was Snow White, maybe it was Cinderella. I don't remember, but there were two of them that came out around the same time. One of them, I think, was made by Tarsem, who I normally really like as a director. He directed one of my favorite movies called The Fall. Which is not about the person who gets trapped up in the tower, but it's this other film, which, if you haven't seen it, wow, probably best movie of its decade.
They're doing another Snow White, so I mean, no.
Well, that's been pretty political, and I'll go see it, if only to anger the people who don't want me to see it. But boy, has there been weird stuff surrounding that movie from the time it was announced. Just look it up.
Yeah,
I've heard. Insanity of Hollywood. Anyway, what's you guys' favorite scene in this movie?
I like all the double crosses that go on, but my favorite scene in the movie actually is that scene where he's sewing himself up. Yeah. And we realize just and there is the visual pun of the Christmas stuff that he's using to do it, but just we realize how tough and how
he's tough, but he's also vulnerable and exhausted.
Yeah.
He's human, and he's hard to kill, obviously, as we discover later.
But he feels pain.
But he feels a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And he gets beat up pretty bad. I thought, in terms of the spirit of violence and humor merged, the whole attic booby trap scene was fun. It was a lot of fun, where the kid sets these guys up so well. It's like, ha 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 ha, I can see your stupid trick, and the guy ends up with a spike up through his chin.
Yeah, it's a much more realistic take on Home Alone, where they endure endless amounts of lethal violence and somehow walk out of it like cartoon characters.
Right. And I mean, the woman villain gets like stuck to the floor like a mouse in a glue trap. And it's very inventive, and it's also hilarious in points, just because of the distortion of reality that happens. And
I think a little thing in this movie that bears addressing in a positive way are the cast, specifically the cast of the villains. I think they're very well drawn. They're very well played. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about all of them. They all have moments that surprise me, and that's in the screenplay.
Yes.
But where they as the acting teacher said, the mask slips. Mm-hmm. And they're given those good opportunities where they don't have to engineer them, but they're part of the story. Yeah. Those could have been throwaway parts, and they were, I think, in some ways more carefully cast than the family.
Right. There's one scene where the Krampus character, the little guy, in the green suit and all that sort of thing, who's kind of holding them hostage at one point while the rest of them go around. And the family starts arguing and just like screaming at each other and pushing each other around. And it's all that's where you see the mask almost drop. It's like, okay, like,
Yeah.
What do I do? Shoot her, shoot him, shoot them, you know? And it's like, and so but that also was great ensemble work because the director's saying, okay, you have to keep hesitating. You can't shoot them.
He's totally
So how do you
unprepared.
do that, you know?
He's totally unprepared for that moment.
Right. And so that's how they worked it, and it worked. That was pretty amazing moment too, because it could have been a flat moment, you know, it could have been flat.
And the thing I like about that is it was a real reverse of class expectations, where you think the person from the lower class is going to be, you know, the more brutal overall,
right?
And in some ways, you can tell his Christmases were just a little more civil,
yeah,
than theirs.
Yes,
and he's baffled at how to deal with the wealthy.
Yeah,
and that's a thing Knives Out did really well, is to show how savage the people we ostensibly
High
think
society.
of as the most polite members.
Yes.
You know, it's why the Binghams sold the Courier Journal.
Right.
You know, just to stop that nonsense.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments in this movie is the horror factor of when Santa's tied up and he's telling them he knows their boss's first name. He knows all their names. And they're really like, how did he know your name? They're questioning it because even though their boss says he's a non-believer, well, even deep down, the biggest non-believer in Santa is actually a true believer. And it gets into that psychology of belief and disbelief. It's really well done in this movie.
It's a good establishing moment for David Harbour to create something with the Santa Claus character as well, because he names off all the different names he has all over the world in that scene as well. It's like he's, you know, and then he just, you know, it's like, screw it, I'm going to reveal myself to you in this way now. I know your name. You know, I know what you wanted
when you're sleeping.
9 years old. I know what you did. You know, all of that sort of thing. So
John was almost finding the naughty list. You really are him. I've been telling you that the whole time.
Right. It takes
and a family gathering. At a family gathering, if there's a little kid you don't like, best thing you can possibly do is just corner them and say, "I saw what you did."
Yeah.
And then walk away. They will be good as gold the rest of the time, because they don't know what it is. They know it was one of the many things they did.
That's right.
Awful. They don't know which one.
Sweating it out.
I saw what you did. Jewel,
is there anything
Jewel, I saw what you did.
Yeah, I looked at my phone. Is there anything you guys want to add about this movie?
You saw what you had on your phone.
Octua. No, not Octua. Anyway, okay. Is there anything you guys want to add about this movie before we go?
It's a movie, you know, it's inexplicable how these things happen, especially in the age of streaming, and where even cable has become sort of an afterthought.
Sure.
And all media and media consumption has become so atomized, and everybody's catching things at different times, and we'll catch it at some point. This Generation Alpha nightmare that we're careening towards. Despite that, I really hope this takes its place in the firmament, along with Die Hard and Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story, as sort of a modern Christmas classic. Because it deserves it.
It does. It's a really good creative collaboration, and you know, everything from direction to script to casting.
Wonderful performances. Yeah.
I'll give you guys a great Christmas movie to watch. It's called Dark Angel, I Come in Peace.
Didn't we watch that last year?
Yeah, you guys did.
Yeah.
We're not going to review it because we've already.
We can review it. It's Christmas time. I mean, we should review more Christmas movies.
It's a fun action movie, starring Dolph Lundgren and a killer alien. Oh my God! Are you joining us tomorrow night, Patrick, for the Friday the 13th?
Oh, I think I'm showing up. Okay, because I haven't seen it, and so this gives me a chance to see it. I will be the fresh set of eyes.
You haven't seen the remake?
No, I don't like those movies. They are the only thing that takes the bad guy down is the credits.
Well, let me give you, before you watch the remake, watch the first 4 Friday the 13th movies.
Well, I've seen those.
I know, but trust me, you'll want to rewatch them.
Joel, I have a standard job with standard hours. I will get in the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 hours of viewing for this when I can, or I will just watch this movie and rely on my memory. I'll do my best.
Okay. Oh my god! All right, I will. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night for Friday the 13th. Which that's going to be fun.
Have fun, guys. I'm going to skip this one.
The remake's not bad. Anyway, links to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows ebook about is going to be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Call and Sport After Dark, is going to be in the description box. Be careful. Be nice, because Santa Claus is coming to town. Okay. Okay. Be good.
Good on that thing.
Yeah. Bye. Merry Christmas. Bye.